NBA building blocks, who are your building blocks? Who are you going to be building your lineups around tonight in the NBA? So start me off with the big beefy dudes at center, Kenny.
Well, I really like Deandre Ayton in this spot, Emerson. He's gone for 6x in back-to-back games. He has 5 straight double-doubles, and he should be locked in to another double-double here. 32-plus minutes should be on the horizon. When you look at the Dallas Mavericks, they're 20th in rebounding rate. They're the 7th worst team in defending inside of 5 feet, allowing 64% of shots to fall. He saw 35 minutes and had a monster game against Dallas the last time that Phoenix played a basketball game. So I do think that Deandre Ayton here should be an absolute monster. It is only $6,700 in a very cushy matchup against the Mavericks team he just dominated. Give me Ayton.
All right, Matty, what direction you going in at center?
So I think Kenny's exactly right about Deandre Ayton. He missed a handful of games and then came back the last 2 and was kind of supposed to be on a minutes restriction, but that didn't really happen. He played 36 minutes last time out against the Mavericks. This is the same matchup against the Mavericks. He did really well in that one. I'll pick someone different, though, because I think that this is a slate where we're going to get a lot of injury news, and it'll be easier to pay up for guys. So Nikola Jokic, it's a back-to-back. He didn't play well last night. Denver lost at home to this Philly team that is missing still almost a lot of their best players. They have Tobias Harris back now. But without Embiid, that should have been a good matchup for Jokic, and he did not do as well as he should. I think it's going to be easier to afford that $12K later in the day than it seems like now. So for now, I'll pick Ayton, but I think that Jokic will seem more appealing later on.
Yeah, he's logged at least 50 points, I believe, in all but one game in November. I mean, he's had a pretty damn good month. How about Meiselman? How about a building block at forward?
Yeah, I think that forward, at least as of now, is a tough position to find value. So we'll get there. I think guard is where we're going to be able to save salary. I think at forward, there are some pretty good pay-up options. I think Paul George may make the most sense. Kevin Durant looks good. Giannis looks good. But George is in a good spot against the Pelicans, and the Clippers are a little bit shorthanded. I'm a little concerned about this being a back-to-back, but Nick Batum is out. I think he probably misses tonight's game also. Terrence Mann's been dealing with an injury. And George has just been really good this season. So I don't think he's necessarily that much better of a choice than Giannis or Durant. I like all of these guys. George is kind of the spot I'm leaning, but I do think in general paying up for a top-tier forward is going to make sense from a roster construction standpoint.
Okay, Kenny, do you agree there? You got to pay up here if you're going to be building around someone at forward?
Yeah, Matt just lobbed the ball up to me, and I'm going to dunk it. He didn't mention one pay-up option, which I think is a really, really good deal, and it's Jason Tatum, 10.1K. Yeah, we saw him struggle against the Cavaliers, right? And everyone wanted to say, Jason Tatum, he's bad now, right? He's actually just a bad basketball player. That's not the case. He had to face Evan Mobley in that game, and with the exception of that game, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's gotten you 5X pretty much every time he's hit the floor in the last 6 games, 46 or more fantasy points in 5 of the last 6. This is a pace-up game here. The Hornets are the Lakers are second in pace and 14th in defensive efficiency, so that always makes them a good play. And now Jason Tatum gets to face Talen Horton-Tucker and Carmelo Anthony. Look, this is a guy that's had his struggles over the last 2 years. Maybe he hit a little bit of a wall. Maybe he's not going to be the best player in the league like some people thought he might be in one day. You know what, though? This is a very good matchup, a very good price to pay on Jason Tatum. I think you should definitely get your 50 fantasy points here. And you're very happy with that because I agree with Matt. I think that this is a very difficult position to save money at. I want to spend up. And I do love the Paul George call. I love the Clippers tonight. But I think that Jason Tatum is going to go a little overlooked. And I think, again, you just can't ignore the pace, right? The Lakers are always a great team to target. I think this is a pretty good scenario to play Tatum.
Yeah, a lot of folks around here in Boston have been pretty disappointed in Jason Tatum's start to the season. But everyone says, hey, tonight's showdown against the Lakers, another chance for him to reaffirm his superstar status. Matt, you mentioned earlier at guard is where you can save cash tonight.
Yeah, so I don't think Steph Curry is going to play tonight. And because of that, I think that a lot of Warriors value is going to open up. So he's not as cheap as some of the bench guys, but Jordan Poole is 6,100. And I think that in a situation where Curry doesn't play, he's someone who deserves to be $8,000 or $9,000. Like he is the guy in their offense, maybe Andrew Wiggins to some extent, but Poole is going to take over a lot of what Curry does. Not as well as Steph does it, but that's a very, very low price for Jordan Poole. So assuming Curry doesn't play, I think Poole becomes the slate's best value, and then it opens up more minutes for guys like Damian Lee, Gary Payton. But I do think that Steph, who I think there was an announcement he was uncertain or something, it's a back-to-back spot against the Pistons. They don't need him to play back-to-back at this stage of the season. I think that it makes sense for him to rest. So it opens up a lot for other Warriors.
Okay, what do you feel like doing here for a building block at guard, Kenny?
Yeah, I want to give the viewers at home just a second here to answer this trivia question. Can anyone tell me who has the second most touches of the basketball per game in the NBA? It's Malcolm Brogdon, and he only cost you $8,300 tonight. Malcolm Brogdon, second to just Nikola Jokic, right? This guy is just a usage machine, and usage rate 29% or greater in all but 2 of his last 8 games. The Pacers are getting a big pace-up game. They love to grind out these slow possessions, which makes it even more ridiculous that he and Jokic get so many touches of the ball, right? Because there aren't that many possessions to go around for those two teams. He should have no issues getting 5X on this slate. And when you look at the way that this matchup should go, the Hornets are 4th in pace. They don't have a good defense. They don't have a good interior defense. I think Malcolm Brogdon here should have no issues just getting to the hole, scoring the basketball. And we know that he's going to be getting the basketball in this offense. Everything is going to go through him. I think that this is a pretty good deal at $8,300. I agree with Matt, of course, because I always agree with Matt. He's a very smart guy, that there's a lot of ways to save money. But I think that Malcolm Brogdon has the potential to be a slate topper or a top 3 player on this slate, and he's only $8,300. So I'm definitely going to pay for him.
Somebody's phone ringing? What is that?
Yeah, that's my phone. It's actually Malcolm Brogdon, and he's calling to say thank you, Kenny, for, because no one talks about the fact that I'm second in touches.
And you even used
my
him.
Dad.
Oh, okay, cool. You even used him as as part of a trivia question for all of the fans at home.
Right.
Really engaging. That's what I really like about you. You always bring up our engagement. Kenny, let's switch over though real quick to the DK Sportsbook for tonight's NBA schedule here. 9 games on the slate. What is your favorite overall bet? It's gonna be a total, prop, that kind of jazz.
I'm going to take the Clippers -3.5. They are shorthanded, but they did get Terrence Mann back last night. Nick Batum was doubtful, so there's a chance that maybe he's upgraded here to questionable and maybe even plays this game. But look, I don't really care that the Clippers are shorthanded. I mean, they got it done against the Spurs with Brandon Boston Jr. and Amir Coffey. I know that they failed last night miserably against a bad Grizzlies defense, but the Pelicans are somehow even worse than the Grizzlies on defense, and especially inside. I think they have the second worst field goal percentage against them in the paint. And there is where I really like this matchup because the Clippers are so shorthanded, they can't play small ball. They've been throwing out Isaiah Hartenstein and Ivica Zubac, who've been playing really good inside. So I think that they're going to have a bigger lineup here just out of the fact that they need it, right, out of necessity. And I think they can exploit that weakness with the Pelicans inside. I think that they can score a lot. Paul George has been fantastic this season. I really like the Clippers here to bounce back in a big way in the second half of the back.
Maddie, bring us home. Favorite overall NBA bet on the DK Sportsbook tonight?
Okay, so if I'm right about Curry, I think that the Pistons and the under, that has to be the play, but we don't know that he's out yet. So I'm gonna pick something else for now. I'm going with the homer pick with the Celtics. They should be larger favorites against the Lakers. And granted, we don't have all the news here. LeBron's a game-time decision. Jaylen Brown's questionable. Robert Williams is questionable. So there's a way that this could break where Brown and Williams are out, LeBron's in, and I don't like this bet as much anymore. But the news could also break very favorably for the Celtics. And the Lakers without LeBron, if he somehow doesn't play, this is a bad team. I don't even think they were an underachieving team that looks bad. I think if the Lakers had to play a whole season without LeBron James, they don't make the playoffs. So the Celtics are a solid team, even without Brown, even without Williams. And I think that they deserve to be much larger favorites than they are if LeBron's out. And even if he's in, I think that there's still a little bit of value on this line. So I know it's a homer pick. I feel like I always do this on here.
Yeah, you do.
I really like the Celtics.